Hey everybody, welcome back. Today it's Music Monday. Actually, this is one of the days I look forward to a bit because I get to go over some of the songs I've been thinking about for a really long time. Today we're going to be going over a song by Nine Inch Nails called Less Than. It's off their Just Add Violence album. It's actually one of the more recent songs. A lot of the times when I'm thinking about songs that kind of develop myself and the ones that have deeper meaning, I've been contemplating for a long time, like 5-10 years or something like that. So this one's actually fairly recent. So I'm going to do what I have done before. I'm going to start by reading the lyrics, and if you want to skip this part, go ahead. I'm going to leave a link down below to the site with the video on it. I recommend watching it. It's pretty neat. I think they have the game Polybius or something like that playing in the background most of the time with lyrics here and there that come up on the screen. So it is entertaining, and it does kind of get you in the mood here. Focus. We didn't even notice. We awake in a place we can barely recognize. Yeah, hypnosis. And you can justify it all. Your back is up against the wall. Shut up, silence, and add a little violence, and offend, and pretend, and defend, and demand my compliance. And you can always justify the missile trails across the sky. So here's the refrain. So what are you waiting for? You've got what you asked for. Did it fix what was wrong with you? Are you less than? Go and look what you've gone and done. Welcome oblivion. Did it fix what was wrong with you? Are you less than? Needful. Too many freaking people. You'll have to take care of yourselves. You know I've got my hands full. And you can always justify the missile trails across the sky. So what are you waiting for? You got what you asked for. Did it fix what was wrong with you? Are you less than? And look what you've gone and done. Come on. Welcome oblivion. Did it fix what was wrong inside? Are you less than? So this whole album, if you look at it, it deals with a lot of agitation. Like agency, sure. I know previously in the channel I talk a lot about agency in the negative, and I think that's actually one of the more proper ways that people are motivated. And this is even in the Garden of Eden. Man is motivated to learn and to till and to get better, not because he's commanded to, but because it's a curse on him and he has to, and he kind of has to pair himself with whatever he's suffering with. That is also paired with meaning. So suffering and meaning kind of go hand in hand, or you can say sacrifice and meaning go hand in hand, but sacrifice less in the sense of like lopping a limb off and more in the sense of like working and duty for it. And men of theirs obviously are in their toil or their vacation. Women literally give their bodies for life itself to continue. So one's like more external, one is more definitely internal, and that's something that women have to struggle with. That's something men have to struggle with too, because you have to pair yourself with something that's worthy of doing. So to the song. Focus, we didn't even notice. We awake in a place we can barely recognize. Hypnosis. And you can justify it all. Your back is up against the wall. If there is a phrase that appeals to modern America at this moment, that's it right there. I think, I might be wrong on this, our number one export as a country is still entertainment. Now that might have changed because of TikTok and all that, I'm not sure. But it kind of came back, I think, from the American dream that we used to have, we as a country, where your goal is to work for a company for like 25 years, 30 years, work for the military for 25, 30 years, then you retire and you do nothing, and you just play on the beach all day in your last years. If that's not the picture of a wasted life, then I don't know what is. And John Piper has a great sermon on this called Don't Waste Your Life. The picture he paints is, he reads a passage out of Reader's Digest, and the passage is, you know, this couple that retired like maybe age 50, you know, he made smart investment plans, and now my husband works on his softball swing, and I walk on the beach and collect shells. And he's like, shells? Here, Jesus, crucifying on the cross, here's my shell collection. Look what I did with my life. He's like, don't waste your life. And so what do? We have all these means of entertainment, including this video you're watching right now, and they pull our attention away from reality. Like, there are things in this house that I should probably do more often than I do. But that's kind of like the curse of affluence. You get more of what you need. Your needs are more met. So you don't feel responsibility. You don't feel like an obligation to reality to maintain them. They're kind of more gifted to you, and they come easier and easier. If something is hard fought, you know how hard it is. You will be intentional upon keeping it straight and narrow and polished and clean because you know what it's worth. You really have a relationship with how much it's worth. If I built this house with my own hands, with hammer and nails, I would certainly take more pride in it and be harder on my kids if they drew on the walls like the one just did the other day. So it's like distancing yourself away from your relationship with reality and your relationship with what you toil for. That's the hypnosis he's talking about here. And you can justify it all. Your back is up against the wall. You know, one of the things about gun violence that I found was very interesting is when people talk about the amount of people killed in gun violence, suicides are like, they're up there as far as adding to the numbers. So it's not shooting other people, it's literally people shooting themselves. And that's kind of replete in an affluent country. If you don't have anything to literally dedicate your sole being to, it's like almost like you don't have a proper relationship with tragedy. And you need that. You need some sort of down so that way you have an up to compare it to. Otherwise, there's no like cycle even in your own life, and things they kind of taper off. Before I pine away, as Maynard would say in the song Reflections, you will just fade away. Not because you're exhausted, but because you're not motivated to get up and do anything. So if your biggest struggle every day is traffic and getting cut off once, and that ruins your entire day, or if you don't have the electronic cup warmer in your car that you're jealous your neighbor has, and that sends you into tears, well, that's justifying it all because your back's up against the wall. You're under a lot of pressure. You need that cup warmer. But you forget actually tragedy actually is and what death actually is. It's like your field is so narrow, and the things that hurt you draw you so much into the immediate. Your skin is not thick. You're thin. You bleed and you pop like a balloon when you're pricked by a tiny little needle. You don't even know what hard work is, and you're not weathered. That's the outworking of engaging in self-hypnosis. Like video games are all that matter. Or media is all that matter, or the news is all that matters. Not what you can see and touch out here with your hands, but the giant abstract cloud out there of my imagination. That's more important. He continues, silence, add a little violence, and offend and pretend and defend and demand my compliance. You can always justify the missile trails across the sky. This is one of the outworkings of the totalitarian mindset, obviously. I think Trent Reznor's messages have gotten more into the political, but there's things that echo in the political that also echo in the individual. We can't help it. Otherwise, like, people make these decisions. Defend, pretend, defend, demand my compliance. Wow, that's just not a slaughtering of personal opinion. I don't know what is. It's like herding you into one sort of groupthink, and heaven forbid you disagree with that. Unfortunately, unless you gave dignity to man through other means that are transcendent, that are beyond the law, endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights, well, that's the natural outworking of things, and that's how things should be. Like, why not? Why not have one person or a group of people, a heteronymous or heteronymous culture, just dictate everything for everybody because they know better? Well, we know the answer to this already. It's what happened to the outworking of communism and socialism, like Venezuela and China, Soviet Russia. That we have examples of this we can go see, because that's what happens. You're so distant, being that one or two or few that are up here from the common person. And you have your own stuff to deal with, which he goes into here. You got your hands tied. You're dealing with other political leaders. But to think because you're here, you also know exactly what the person on like the lowest level does, well, that's bad relationship. That's also the Tower of Babel. And that thing fell pretty hard because this person tried to dictate what this person should do to a T, build the tower up higher, and they built the tower so high that they lost focus and communication with the person down there to the point where their language has changed. That's one of the ways you can look at the Tower of Babel. Like, there's so many lessons you can grab just out of that simple story in the Bible. It's pretty absurdly, awesomely complex there, I could say that. And then the refrain, so what are you waiting for? You got what you asked for. Did it fix what was wrong with you? Are you less than? Go and look what you've gone and done. Welcome oblivion. Did it fix what was wrong with you? Are you less than? So you got what you asked for. That can mean two things. It can mean, first off, your enemies have destroyed the missile trails across the sky, obliterated them. Does that make you better? Well, anybody who's been a victim under the influence of anger can understand once vengeance is reached, that anger stays in there. Like, there has to be another way you can release that. Maybe go take over someone else. Maybe demonize something else, which is what you have to do if it's another human being. You have to turn them into less than a human being. And so if you do that to somebody else, they can do it to you. Are you less than? The thing about anger, again, it always appeals to justice. But it depends which direction that justice is going. Is it going internal? I am the judge. Are the political leaders saying, we judge everybody, moral character or otherwise, therefore we fire the missiles? Go and look in what you've gone and done and welcome oblivion. The outworking of anger in the material sense, after you make your enemies less than, which I guess is in the negative, is the destruction of the temple that houses our soul. Obviously, the people, usually the civilians at the bottom, are the ones that suffer more so, which, that's par for the course, right? If a country fights a country and it's cultural differences or whatever, monetary differences, suffering is just going to happen. War is terrible. And we need war. I don't like saying we need war once in a while. If you don't study history and take it seriously, war will just happen. That sounds a little better than we need a war. Because you have to know what terrible tragedy looks like and what potential man can do to himself and to other people. And if anything, just to understand how good you have it on this planet. So welcome to Oblivion. I mean, they had the same reaction when they came back from the concentration camps. The terribleness of Nazis just burning like thousands of people every day. That's Oblivion. And why not do that? That's eugenics. That's building a proper super race. That's pragmatism also, because you're making things better and better with the sacrifice of the innocent. But does that fix what's wrong with you? Does that fix that need, that emptiness, the like black hole that's on the inside? The one that's infinitely wanting. Because we are not satisfied with anything. It's just our nature. If anything, just regular hunger and thirst can teach you this. There's never a stop to the need. But what you can do is you can participate in daily celebration for what you have. And that's like rejoicing every meal with your family because you have a meal to eat. I just said this today to my kids. Like, some people go without meals for a day or two. Then they get to eat. We don't get to do that, so we have to remember this stuff. I try to keep seriously the commandment that is in Deuteronomy when like you talk about this stuff when you're sitting down, when you're getting up, and it has to happen in the family. It can happen in public school, but they're going nuts. They don't teach moral values anymore. They teach you what to think, not how. My kids are in private school. I'd strongly recommend it if you have children. The public school system, there are some gems of people that are in there, but it is not designed to make good characters. It's designed to make compliant robots. And if you're non-compliant, or you object a lot, or disagreeable, well, then you have ADD or ADHD. You need Ritalin, so that way you can listen in class. Turns out a lot of younger people, male or female, specifically male, just resist, because it's in their nature to take a pounding to see what you are made of and what they're made of. And if one teacher trying to control like 30 kids, and 3 of them act out, well, they're the problem. Get them under medication. Or maybe we can apprentice them and do something a little bit better with their lives and that energy. Needful. Too many freaking people. Just a side note on cursing in general and why I try not to do it is language has meaning and purpose. And there are certain words that if you just use them, they lose their meaning. You get desensitized to them. Where if some words are not held sacred, then they will lose their meaning. Like the name of God, right? That should be held sacred. It used to be. Some things are also the opposite of that. Some things are meant to have that kind of shock value. I know one thing that I learned from watching Jordan Peterson's videos is the same part of your brain that reacts to a swear word is also the same part of your brain that reacts to like seeing a snake in the ground. You like jump at it. So if you desensitize yourself to that natural warning, that natural impulse to reject a sensation, you won't listen to it anymore. It's like the boy who cried wolf. Like the language losing its meaning and purpose. I know it does evolve. Things change, specifically the idioms in the English language. But you got to be careful you don't try just to switch the meaning of words. And we're having that issue right now with like gendered language and stuff like that in our culture right now. It's just absolutely insane. So I think this, where he's saying too many freaking people here, you'll have to take care of yourselves. You know, I've got my hands full. You can always justify the missile trails across the sky. So that's the propaganda part of it, the last part of it. You can always justify the missile trails across the sky. And we see this with like the press secretary and like every propaganda country that's ever existed. You do this because, again, to get your people on your side. They are the enemy. Here's why they are less than human. So this song could also be looked at as like a self-reflection. If we are doing that to them, do we look like that to them as well? It's neat seeing the reflective paradigm here. But the too many freaking people, that's been proven wrong so many times that the planet's going to overpopulate. Maybe too much responsibility. I have to take care of myself. You guys got to take care of yourselves. Now that does give dignity to them, but if you're in the position of authority and it's your position to take care of things, and you're not doing your job properly, well, whose fault is that? Maybe you shouldn't be in that position. Because when you're in that spot, you also you should feel the pain of making a poor choice. Maybe making too much of a hasty choice or making too quick of a judgment call. Or if you're not willing to take that responsibility, you should also not have the prestige of the position. Because then you're just lying to reality. Who made that choice? Who made the choice to invade that country? They deserved it. You guys voted me in. It's your fault. It's pointing the finger again. That's escaping the hero mentality. That's escaping taking responsibility for your particular choice. That's denying your own dignity, denying your own language, as if what you say didn't mean anything, or didn't have any value, or you didn't believe it. All of those things. And he goes on the refrain one more time. So what are you waiting for? You've got what you asked for. Did it fix what was wrong with you? Are you less than? That's rehashing the same point. Does this stuff make you better? Does conflict make you better? Well, it kind of does. But if it's conflict where you pretend and offend and then justify, even though it's not truthful justification, you just kind of twist language and you twist words to your own benefit. Does it fix you? Your aim is not straight anymore. Truth is a straight line, roughly, or a curve if you're on a globe, right? That's probably a terrible joke. But there should be a direct approach. Truth is, well, perception. But it's absolute perception. What does that look like? Well, we can't even wrap our heads around that. So we try to find our best evidence, because that's how you find truth. You use your best evidence, and you take your time and you make your choice properly, because there might be something you miss. And you have to always be willing to change in your aim for truth. Because if you're not, and you say something like, no matter what you tell me, I won't believe it, because X, Y, Z, well, maybe that person has something new to show you. And usually what I've found, because after following Christ for so long, when people tell me new things, first off, there's no major new things. The things have been wrestled with since before mankind could read or write. There's nothing new under the sun, that's what they say in Ecclesiastes. But maybe someone has seen something from a different perspective that I have not thought of. Well, that could be enlightening to me. There's so many things on this planet I don't know, but my aim is still truth. I still haven't arrived at any other conclusion, and I'm willing to have my mind changed about Christ being the highest ideal, and he had to have been the Son of God, because he is the highest ideal, and he subjects himself to something higher. That's the highest thing anybody can aim for. You aim for the transcendent, and you subject yourself to that. And to reach any higher tier would literally to claim godhood yourself. I already know everything, which is impossible in the land of finitude which we live in. So this song kind of leaves you with a question, obviously. Are you less than? Are you less than a human? Are you less than a being, a truthful being? Are you just going to be self-hypnotized? Are you just going to be led astray, offended, and corralled into believing what everybody tells you to believe? Or are you going to use your best evidence? Not only are you going to use your best evidence, but then you're going to act upon it. Is that what you're going to do? I mean, those are the questions that are kind of being asked in the song. I think that'll do it for this one. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, click the like button, subscribe down below. It does help me out. I'm enjoying doing this. I like picking apart the lyrics of these deeper songs, especially Tool and Nine Inch Nails are definitely my top two. But if you have any suggestions, leave it down in the comments below. I might take a look at it if I have time, which we always seem to have time. We just got to use it properly. Anyway, I'll see you next time. Take care.